Hello, my name is Herbert Moser. I am going to talk about the Indian numeral system. Um, as you can see on the chart I have behind me, we have the Indian side and then we have the international side. And it will show that the first three places of the Indian system are used as like the ones. After that, they only use two places on each one with commas. So you start from the right and with the three, and then you go over, and each one only has two in between the commas. With the Indian numeral system, they were one of the first people to incorporate the zero in the numbers that they're using, holding places, so that as you counted things for business, commerce, science, and the place values could be used, representing a number in the system. So the names are 3, 2, 2, 2, where in the international it goes 3, 3, and 3, which is millions, thousands, hundreds, tens, ones, and the Indian numbering system actually was one of the first starts of using the zero, and that later got transferred into Europe, and they were establishing how to count better, which affected the science, natural science, business, the government. Everything was starting to be consistent with the use of numbers and needing to count to keep track of what was happening in the continent at that time. So they did use the separators, but they only used the two for each side, which and also turned into the Arabic numerals. So the Arabic numerals were founded by a few of the major influences in the early Indian numeral system. But they used the 1 through 9, and they did start to incorporate the 0, which was one of the first times that this has been used. There are like hieroglyphic symbols for some of the numbers. They're like right here. I couldn't figure out a way to get that to be used any other way, so I just printed out the page to try to use that. So that was like, it uses every number, and it does jump from tens and thousands and lakhs and crores, which are over here, which would be the millions and the thousands. So they did have different names for them, and they were still kind of the same thing, except for they only used two places with a comma rather than three like we use now. And so the mathematicians took over the Indian style because it was simpler. It made a lot more sense to the people after they started to use it, and it just seemed to flow better, and it represented the numbers that they were trying to emphasize as they were evolving. Math evolved, which is kind of into science. Math has a lot to do with science. There's a lot of calculating with science to be able to access different images, learn how to explain shapes, measurements, feet, miles. So it was like a little bit more efficient to use in the calculations, which turned into being able to have algebra, geometry, and with the place value system, it just seemed a lot simpler for a lot of people to be able to have something that was all in common to start with the numeral systems, and that it got adopted in Europe. It got spread everywhere after a period of time. It did change a little bit, but for the most part, it kind of stayed like very versatile, so that people could use it, and it was worked through trade, and it influenced mathematical development incredibly. There was the Hindu or Arabic numeral system. It kind of became used worldwide now, and it's just in a simpler form for everybody to use. And they were used years ago in like scripts with widely people writing stuff, scripts, and different works that they were all doing. This is back in like 550 CE. The Indian mathematical system, it impacted on science and commerce. Mathematics is science and science, so it had a widespread, and it evaluated what was going on at the time, making everybody kind of all work at the same, so that people understood what they were counting, what they were doing, and made it easier for everybody to be counting the same. It's pretty much almost what we use now, with the 10 symbols, 1 through 9, and then a 0, so that the system was pretty common. It was like revolutionary at the time for all of the countries to switch kind of to that system, and it's definitely widely used. And Europe, it spread after that. Once it did get through Europe, by the time the 12th century came around, it was widespread. Everybody was kind of using it. It was a pretty big achievement for them. So now there's like algebra, geometry. This all kind of really comes from the beginning of the Indian numeric system.